In this video, I'm going to show you how I went from this tiny little shack to 30 bays, a machine shop on 4 acres, and more cars than I can shake a stick at. So come on, let's take a trip down memory lane. I hope I don't cry too much. This would have been back in 1990, almost 35 years ago. This little storage shed. You're not going to believe it. There was no heater in this place. Come on. There's Dave's Auto, my very first building. I kid you not. This is where I went to work. I worked there for 4 months. Crazy story. The guy that owns this now won't let me go in the back.
Trespassing.
No, I wasn't. I was on there. I was on the other side of it.
This is my side.
Yeah, well now I am.
This is my side.
Now I am. I'm leaving though.
That's good.
Be good, man. But way there in the back, that old rusty garage door, that was my very first business. It was a crazy time. I'd gotten fired from my job, working at a Toyota dealership. Miles, who you know, was born, he was 3 months old. He was born in August. In fact, I got married October the 5th, and so I got fired on October the 7th because 2 days after we got back from getting married at Jackson Hole, Wyoming, we drove up to Jackson and got married in Jackson. Got the justice of peace, the bartender, and a waitress were the witnesses. This is a true story. I come into work that morning, getting married a couple days earlier. They called me in the office, fired me, let me go. I go home and I thought, man, I can't tell Allie. She's not gonna be happy. And we had a brand new baby in the house. Great woman that she was. She stuck with me. I went and looked for some jobs and there was some things going on. I didn't want to work for anybody else. And I said, dang it, I'm gonna give it a shot. And that's where it started. There's no heat in there. I got a propane heater. We were broke, man. I mean, we were as broke as you could be. I was 30 years old, so I just started back there, and word of mouth. And this is back when you didn't have cell phones, there was no internet. You know, you were passing out business cards and telling everybody, you know, help. But I was only there for about, I think it wasn't even maybe 4 or 5 months. I realized I got to find another place. I was freezing to death with that little propane heater. And I'm going to show you now. Let's go to where I moved next. Oh my gosh. You know, when you get old, man, memories, they impact you. Oh, this was my second location. So I moved in here and I was so scared, man. I was so scared. All of a sudden I went from that storage unit that had 1 bay to 4 bays and a real, you know, mortgage. I wish I could tell you how much it was, but I don't remember. Yeah, wow. I used to eat lunch up there. Yeah, that's where the heater was. But these were my bays. And I know they're not very big bays. In fact, the name of my business when I first started out, when I incorporated, which was 1993, was Dave's Import Auto Service, Inc. I was so proud of that. Most of my history was in imports. So, you know, I do a lot of diesels now. Guys, you know, you follow the trail, kind of, you know, so to speak. And you know, Japanese and back then, a lot of British imports. Oh man, from Sunbeams to, you know, MGs, Triumphs. I've done them all. And I did them in this shop. It's crazy. You know, I think these are the original doors. I mean, look at this. These doors, there's no insulation in these doors. In the winter, this shop used to get pretty dang cold. The owner of this place wanted to expand into here. He had a filter business. And so he booted me out and I moved to the 3rd location that I'm gonna show you here in a minute. But guys, this is all I had for 2 years. I mean, this is it. And it's cramped in here. These old lifts, these weren't in here when I was in here. The lifts that were in here, I actually took them out of here and used them, but they've been long gone because, you know, you can't keep a lift for 30 years. But you guys, don't ever be afraid, man. Don't ever be afraid. You can do it. So this shop reminds me of a story that I want to tell you guys. I was $32 an hour. I think I was $32 an hour. So I did this guy's motor. Back in the day, you know, he told me, you're busy, raise your rates. I can't raise my rates. I raised them. Comes back a couple months later, how you doing? I'm busy as crap. Raise your rates again. I'm like, I can't do that. So I didn't do it every time he told me to. I was too scared to do it. But as I look back, that was some of the best advice that I ever had. from a customer. You know, a customer was telling me, raise your rates. The rate that I have now obviously is not $32 an hour, but it doesn't matter what my rate is. It matters what your rate is. I'm doing this webinar and I'm doing it for you guys. Honestly, I've been so overwhelmed this last year with the response of techs and shop owners and just general car enthusiasts that want to know my story and want to know how they can take their business from the next level. So if you want to know how you can go from a storage unit to a 4-bay shop and then finally to your very own place you really, really can call your own, and someday you too could, you know, have a 30, 40-bay shop and your dream comes true. I'm telling you, your dream comes true, but they only come true with a crap load of work, man. So hit that link, sign up for the webinar. We've had a great response to it. It's limited because I want to be able to talk. There's a 30-minute live Q&A. So I want everybody to have a chance to ask me some questions and interact with you. So sign up for that. Let's go look at my other place. This is my third spot that I rented. So we get a little closer. This was my waiting room. It was just an open warehouse. The building had just gotten built, and the guy that owned it had moved me out from my second building, and he built this and he said it'll be better for you, so I moved over here. I didn't think it was better for me, but you know, he wouldn't renew my lease in the building I just showed you. So I had these 3 bays. I filled them up pretty quick. Then I rented some bays over here from him, so I hired a guy, Stretch. God rest your soul, Stretch. And your family. I know they follow me. Peanut was his little girl. I can't remember her name, but he always called her Peanut, and I know she follows me. So hey, Peanut. He was my first employee, and he worked for me over there in those bays, and that was it. I was on a test drive, and this old farmhouse had a for sale sign in front of it, right on the frontage road in Centerville on the freeway. I stopped in, knocked on the door. Sweet old lady answered it. She was in a walker. She comes out. Long story short, we struck a deal. This is the funny part. At that time, I've been working for about 2.5 years at these different shops. And I had saved up, all I had saved up was $20,000. And when I say I had saved up, me and Allie had saved this up. And that was all the money we had. We were still struggling. And this woman, I convinced this woman to sell me 2 acres of ground on the freeway frontage. She had it for sale for $135,000. This was back in 1992. I got her to carry the paper because I couldn't qualify for anything. If you go in a bank, banks were laughing at me. She carried the paper, she carried the note for a couple of years. I gave her the $20,000 down, but here's the story now I can tell. I went home to tell Allie about it, and Allie was like, no way are you taking that money. No way. You're not taking that money. That's too risky. You're buying raw ground. You know, where are you gonna put your shop? And I said, I'm gonna build a shop. And then of course she was smart thing, and she's like, where are you gonna get the money for that? I was like, I don't know. I'll figure that out, but I wanna buy that ground. So I took the money without her permission and I bought the ground. I think she was kind enough. I think I only slept on the couch for a week after that. Allie, I love you. But it all worked out, and I found a bank. It took me about 20 banks, I'm not kidding you, before I finally got a yes. And the truth is, I couldn't believe they said yes. I thought, I fooled them. They're gonna loan me the money. I'll show you the building. They loaned me the money, but I was scared to death. So this is the building that I built in 1993. So I'd have been 33 years old then. So we got an SBA loan, small business, and I built the building like this. If you'll look at the front, you know, this door here, but you also have the same, you got the same setup on this side. And the reason I did that is the bank, I didn't think I could fill the building up. I was scared to death. I was like, man, my britches got way too big. But what I was gonna do, and I never told him, I was gonna lease out half the building. And that was kind of a weird thing back then. The SBA wanted you to occupy, I think, 75% of the where or they wouldn't give you the loan. And I was like, I don't think I can occupy 75% of that building. But anyway, I opened up, you know, word of mouth spread. I've been in this community for a couple years, and thank God, and God thank you. You know, blessings from the Lord. I filled up the building, and we kept going from there. Listen, I'm gonna take you back. I'm not gonna embarrass you, I promise. We're talking about when we first got this building. Now, I've told the story of how you were a little upset when I bought the building, and you kind of weren't, you know, too happy about us spending the money, you know, to buy the building. And then I bought the building, and then I finally got the loan. Remember how hard that was?
Yes.
Like 20 banks said no, no, no,
Oh,
no, no.
gosh, yes.
Yeah. When I finally got the loan, and then it was like, okay, maybe he can actually do this thing and get a building put up. Remember how we came out here and we had a picnic on a blanket on the weeds? You can just say yes.
I don't, but okay. I remember other things that you don't remember.
Oh, okay.
Like when you first put the shovel into the ground and turned the dirt over to start digging. I remember that.
I don't remember that.
I know.
I remember the picnic on a blanket and a bottle of champagne. I remember that.
Oh, okay.
You know, you got to celebrate the moments.
Oh, yeah.
You really have to celebrate the moments because there's so much hardship along the way. But the hardships turn into the best memories, huh?
Oh, it's not success if you're not enjoying your life.
Yeah.
Be successful and fulfilled.
Joey is my number 2 son. You know, that doesn't mean I don't love you.
I'll take number 2.
Miles is number 3.
I got some good brothers.
He was 8 years old when I built this building. And what do you remember?
I remember coming in here, but this was all just rock, gravel before they laid the floor. You could see all the piping and stuff in the floor, and nothing was here other than dirt.
Before I built the building, I tried really hard to get enough fill dirt in here from people that were building up on the hill houses.
You've been doing that for years.
Yeah, dude, I'm a tricky guy. You know, I was like, I had signs out here. Free dirt, or not free dirt, put your fill here. So as the houses were getting built up on the mountain, which, you know, bank run is what they called it, made really good fill dirt and I didn't have to pay for it. So I did that after I bought it. There's white PVC up here that goes the whole building. Now we put it under the floor originally, but it broke, remember, we had to tee into it.
Yeah.
But the main line going through the building is still...
It's still our main line.
30 plus years old. And Joey did it on a ladder.
I was on a ladder gluing that together, and it still holds.
Child labor laws, none were broke in the building of this building. I think fathers and sons are allowed to do that.
Me and Miles, we'd come in here on the weekends and he'd make us push everybody's toolbox out, and we had one single floor buffer.
Yeah, I did.
And I'd make Miles sit on the floor buffer to get a little bit more pressure on there, and we would scrub this whole floor on the weekends.
Yeah, that's a true story. I make my boys work.
We'd clean this whole place top to bottom.
Every weekend, that's all. I've always been that way. I want a clean shop.
Between 10 to 13. I was 10 to 13.
Yeah.
Miles was probably 7 to 8.
Yeah.
Every weekend, I remember you telling me, you'll be one of the richest kids in school, and it won't be because of me, and it's because he was paying me well.
Yeah. I never paid my boys. You don't work, you don't eat. That's how I am. This was my first building, so it was 8,000 square foot. But back here, this was the back of the building. And then after we'd been in here for 8 years, so in 2001, I started construction on this block addition. This was the outside wall, the back wall, the outside of the building, and you can see where we kind of turned and kicked it with the block here. So I built these additional 10 bays back here in 2001. Now, we finished completion on this. This was a big stretch for me. I'd only been in this building for 7, 8 years. And now I'm growing and I'm taking a big step. And you don't build 10 bays thinking, you build 10 bays thinking you're praying that you can fill 2 of them. What happened was, of course, everybody knows, in 2001, 9/11 in September, the world was rocked by the biggest tragedy that's ever hit American soil. Business shut, it was like somebody turned a switch off. America shut down. And I can remember just being here in the shop, it seemed like a month or 2 where there was nothing. There was nobody doing any business or money. And I was scared to death, of course, because I had loans and money and a family, and I had some people that were working for me. By this time, I think we had maybe 5 employees. I'm telling you this story because I'm telling you the struggle. Remember, I have the 4 O's. Opposition is an opportunity with options to overcome. Trust me. I never read that somewhere. That came to me years and years later as I look back on my life, how all this happened. When I bought this ground you see in the pictures, and I built that shop, the first one, before I did the second expansion on the back of that, I bought that house there. Now, I remodeled it and upgraded it and stuff, but I lived in that house up until, I lived in that house for 15 years when I first built this building. That's one of my secrets. That was how far I had to go to work, back and forth. I don't think we'd ever had kids if I wouldn't have lived so dang close, man, because I was working so much. But think about it. If you drive a half hour to work each way, If you work 250 days a year, that's 250 hours. It's a half hour each way. Some people drive a lot more than that. That's 6 weeks of production. So, you know, that's how my mind works. Here we are 35 years later, and what I want to tell you is if you keep at it and you refine your product, make it better. It's your work. It needs to be as best as it can be. The people, your processes, and promote. I can guarantee you the promotion is probably one of your biggest weaknesses now. We're going to be talking about that. I'm going to help you with that. But you can have a work schedule that's as big as this. 164 current work orders, active work orders. So come join me on this webinar so that you can figure out how you can get where you want to be. I'm going to make it easy for you. This is the same price of a good Snap-on ratchet. It's actually less, but it's going to give you a lot more value for a lot longer, and it's going to speed up your progress so that you don't have to go through all the pain that I've gone through. You're talking to a shop owner, not some consultant that's going to charge you 10 grand and come in there and tell you to sell more oil changes. You know, my hope is, man, that this inspires you. I hope if one person out there is like this 15-year-old boy that was walking by a taxi cab and limousine company and wanted a job as a mechanic, oh my goodness, 50 years ago, that would be so touching to me. And I hope that you can understand how I'm passionate about helping other people out. I've spent my life doing that, over half of my life. Join us in this webinar on October the 3rd at 6 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. Click on the link below and join me and my sons for at least 2 hours. We'll open it up for live questions and answers, but we got a bunch of things that we're going to try to explain to you and help you and teach you. And I hope that you'll join us. I guarantee it'll help you in wherever you're at. We're going to jump you up from wherever you're at.